Dream Team, it's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are. Driver of fatal Burke Street crash was ranting and uttering when arrested. 9 News Australia, and I believe this was in Melbourne, Australia. Kind of scared to see this, but before we dive in, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Let's see what we got.
Good evening. Burke Street has once again become a scene of unimaginable horror when a speeding driver mowed down pedestrians and caused a car crash that killed an innocent 76-year-old man from Brunswick.
Wow.
Senior police say the suspect from Melton West, who has a history of mental health issues, was heard making rantings but has no criminal or terror links. Eliza Rugg begins our coverage.
It's just always so sad to see people drunk driving. Like, guys, if you had too many drinks, just do not get in the driver's seat of that car. Like, please, like, for the sake of others, for the sake of yourself, do not drive. And it's like, people know this, but they just, I don't know. They always get in the car with the mindset, oh, I can drive, I'm okay, I'll be fine. No, you're not. You're not good.
In all white, wearing no shoes. A driver sits on top of his car on Burke Street, surrounded by a trail of mayhem that he's accused of causing.
The guy was standing on top of the roof, cutting like the police were trying to get him down.
Officers drag the man onto the ground.
Get him.
As witnesses hurl abuse at him. The 26-year-old Melton West man was captured speeding up Burke Street.
Yeah, it's very scary. It's a Friday night, it's a busy night.
Within seconds, 3 pedestrians had been hit, 2 cars also smashed, leaving an innocent driver dead.
Just like loud bangs, extremely loud bangs. It was just mayhem. You couldn't tell who was responsible for the hit at that particular point in time.
A nightmare case of deja vu on Burke Street. Once again, the scene of horror.
To all involved, this is a terrible incident, and we are all deeply grateful to all of those who played a part in comforting others.
At 6:43 last night.
I said, bro, that's just, you just hate to see news like this. You can't stand it, man. This is just honestly heartbreaking, bro. Like, it's hard. People getting mowed down. They say you had 3 pedestrians and also 2 other cars with drivers, in which one 76-year-old man was killed because of it. It's just heartbreaking, bro. It just drains you.
The city was bustling with Friday night crowds. The suspect, driving his mother's white Toyota sedan, had turned right from Elizabeth Street into the Burke Street Mall. He's then driven up the mall along tram tracks going over Swanston Street, hitting 3 pedestrians who were crossing the road in front of the tram stop. The suspect then accelerated, T-boning a white Hyundai sedan at the intersection of Burke and Russell Streets. That impact knocked the Hyundai into an Uber vehicle.
Tragically, a 76-year-old male from Brunswick who was in the Hyundai that was T-boned was killed at the scene.
The pedestrians struck were a 26-year-old man from Kew, a 35-year-old woman from Docklands and a 23-year-old woman from China. They all suffered serious injuries, while the Uber driver and passenger fared better with minor seatbelt injuries. Quickly, the scene was cordoned off, the area shut down.
I can assure the community that there is no ongoing threat.
As the suspect's car was searched, homicide detectives took charge of the investigation to find a potential motive.
He was making some rantings and utterings. We are still working through to determine whether this is a deliberate or a reckless act.
Investigators have ruled out terrorism at this stage. The driver was known to police, but only as a previous missing person and a mental health patient, not as a criminal.
He has no prior criminal history. He's not on bail. He's in effect a clean skin.
Eliza joins us now.
I don't even know what to say, bro. That just absolutely sucks. It frustrates you, but most of all, it just drains you. That, like, There's people getting behind the wheel not in the right mind to be able to drive.
Not on bail. He's in effect a clean skin.
Eliza joins us now from police headquarters. Eliza, what more do we know about the suspect?
Well, Dougal, we know that the man was taken to hospital last night under police guard, where he was deemed medically unfit for interview. As Shade Patton told us today, the comments that the driver made at the scene after the crash, that will form part of the investigation for police to be able to allege whether this was an intentional act or some sort of reckless conduct behind the wheel that's caused this terrible tragedy. Either way, police will need to work out all of that before any charges are laid. Dougal.
A horrific day. Eliza Rugg, thank you. The 3 pedestrians who were struck have all suffered serious and multiple injuries. Let's go live to Emily Rice at the Alfred Hospital. Emily, what's the latest on their conditions?
Dougal, 2 of those 3 pedestrians are being treated here at the Alfred by the hospital's world-class trauma team. Now, they are specifically a 26-year-old man. He's from Kew. He's being treated for a fractured pelvis and head injuries, and also a 35-year-old woman from Docklands. She has got head injuries as well and a broken arm. Now, there's a 23-year-old woman who's being treated in the Royal Melbourne Hospital. She's from China, and she has a neck fracture and a broken pelvis, and she is in a serious condition. The good news is that Uber driver and his passenger who were in the vehicle that was struck, well, they were hospitalised but have been released this afternoon with only minor injuries. Now, as you heard in Eliza's story, the Premier and Victoria Police have paid tribute to those bystanders who came to help those pedestrians when they were laying injured in the middle of Burke Street. So that's a wonderful showing of Victorian support for their fellow citizens. But for these 3 pedestrians who remain in hospital, it will be a long road to recovery. Dougal.
Hate it. Although Australia, they are known, know what I'm saying? They care about you. Know what I'm saying? Australia cares about their fellow neighbors. They care about their community. And I love the fact that they were all there in the streets ready to help those who were hit by this drunk driver or had mental challenges. Just someone who shouldn't have been behind the wheel. Someone who obviously shouldn't have been behind the wheel of a car. You hate that story, but thankful for the people there to try to help those who were injured. Man.
Emily Rice, thanks for the update. Well, the carnage on Burke Street is another setback for the struggling heart of our city. Amber Johnston is there for us. Amber, it's raised fresh concerns about safety and security in the CBD.
It has, Dougal. This time last night, it was terror on the streets, and while the chaos has dissipated, the roads are back open and the city is seemingly back to normal, there is still this overwhelming sense of disbelief. Speaking to people passing by and local business owners, many are really scared, asking how has this happened again?
Burke Street last night, a scene that's eerily familiar. 5 years earlier, it was a frenzied knife attack, and the year before that, a car rampage so deadly it was deemed a massacre. Joey Tam has witnessed all 3.
I was like,
oh my gosh, bro. Burke Street, all of these happening within the past 5 years. What's going down in Burke Street, bro? Is that like a bad part of town or what?
Deemed a massacre. Joey Tam has witnessed all 3.
I was like, oh my God, what is it? Is it jinxed? Is Burke Street jinxed?
Joey has a law firm on Burke Street and had just clocked off when the car mounted the footpath.
I see people falling over, jumping out of the way kind of movement. That's when something still didn't add up until I saw what appears to be a mannequin or a body flying into the air.
Utter disbelief that something like this could happen again.
And the state of disarray, I was just taken aback, like, oh my goodness, this is really bad.
Her sentiments reflect how others were feeling today, a force on high alert and a city on edge.
So sad. We saw it on the news this morning and horrific in our city.
The safety is, I think, the biggest concern in Melbourne at the moment. Victoria, I'll say. Lots of things that are happening, and this type of incident is actually adding up to our anxiety.
George Markuzov has been a security guard for more than 20 years and says this was one of the most horrific incidents he has witnessed.
There was about 50, 60 people waiting for the tram to arrive, and it was just absolutely total shock. You could see on their faces.
In response to the 2017 attack that killed 6 and left dozens more injured, the Andrews government spent $52 million on citywide safety upgrades, including bollards and expanded CCTV. Today, the Premier said from an engineering point of view, they have done everything they can.
If you're going to run a road network, and if you're going to have uniquely trams running as well, then there will always be some risk.
Last night's tragedy has been referred to the coroner, who will make recommendations if they feel it's necessary.
When these are random, isolated, extreme events, it is difficult to even predict them, let alone to be able to put measures in place that prevent them.
Melbourne is a...
I do agree with what she just said. You can't get rid of all danger. No matter how much planning, how much prepping, how much things you put into place, there's things that you can't predict. They're just random acts that happen, and that's one of those things that just happen.
A tremendously safe city.
Amber Johnston, 9 News.
That's all we got. You just hate to hear stories like that. It honestly sucks, but these type of stories happen every day. That's all. You guys got a favorite video suggestion? You can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. It's your boy Neal, out.